and spending the money that was made by McKinley. So McKinley got a bad deal on that one. He built tremendous wealth. They had the Tariff Act of 1887, and they had a committee that studied what are we going to do. They had a big problem, a problem like I hope to have with this country someday. So much money was coming in from foreign countries that they didn't know how to spend it. They had no idea. So they set up a committee. We'll set one up with the people in this room where we distribute the wealth that we have. And Roosevelt built dams and built railroads and did national park. They did it with the money that was made with tariffs from McKinley. So you have to remember that. Very highly underrated, a very underrated president. Let's give them both credit. Smart tariffs will not create inflation. They will combat inflation. I had almost no inflation, and I had the highest tariffs that anyone's seen, and they were going a lot higher. Foreign nations will pay us hundreds of billions of dollars, reducing the deficit and driving inflation down, or will largely reduce our deficit. In my first term, we imposed historic tariffs with no effect on consumer prices or inflation. The anti-tariff people, many of them, I believe, honestly work for these other countries in some form, get tremendous amounts of it being money and other money because it doesn't make sense what they're saying. But we had no inflation, and we had protection, and I saved so many industries. I saved the steel industry with Biden insurers, letting it go, and letting it go was so easy to keep. A combination of fair trade, tax cuts, regulatory cuts, and energy abundance will allow us to produce more goods better and cheaper right here in the USA than we've ever done before. Foreign nations will respect us again. I got along great with foreign nations, and I taxed the hell out of them. And they liked me. Maybe they respected me. And Mr. Orban, a very strong man. He's the Prime Minister of Hungary. He said the only thing missing from the world right now is President Trump. He kept the world safe. Because everybody was afraid of him. I don't like that term. That's the term. I'd like to say respected him and respected our country, but he didn't say that. He said everybody was afraid of him. He said China was afraid, Russia was afraid, they were all afraid. Kim Jong-un. I got along great with him, and I tried to explain to the fake news media that getting along with people, foreign countries, is a good thing. And we'll attack the heads of those countries, and we don't want to have a war, because right now we're closer to World War III than we've ever been in our lives. With Russia, Ukraine, which would have never happened if I was president. With October 7th in Israel, the whole Middle East is blowing up. Would have never happened. That would have never happened. Respectfully, Iran was blocked. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. It wouldn't have happened. There would be peace in the Middle East, and Iran would be a big beneficiary of that peace. Good. All of these things that happened, and inflation would have never happened. And Afghanistan would have never happened. The worst withdrawal in history. I believe the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. In fact, that's what caused Ukraine. When he looked at how incompetently that was handled, he looked at it and he said, man, they're incompetent. That was the most embarrassing day in the history of the United States of America. Airplanes taking off with many people sitting on the wings of the plane and the side of the plane and the wing, and you see them dropping off the planes at 3,000 feet. They thought it was their trip to freedom. There's never been anything like that, and I think there's no greater embarrassment. By the way, we lost 13 incredible soldiers. Got to know the families very well. Spent a lot of time with them 4 days ago in Arlington Cemetery. 3 years ago, they were celebrating 3 years, honoring their children. And yeah, that's what they call them, their children. They always will call them their children. They're gone. And many of those people there should have never left from there. We should have left from Bagram, the big airbase. Many of those people that were so badly hurt, they don't talk about them. No legs, no arms, mutilation of their face, their entire body, and nobody mentions that. We left Americans behind, large numbers. We left $85 billion worth of equipment behind. Because we took our military out first. A child would know you take your military out last. And just remember one final point on that, because it's a little bit different from our subject, but not really. Because it's all about our country and common sense. But for 18 months, I spoke to the leader of the Taliban. Wes was very upset that I spoke to him. His name is Abdul. I said, Abdul, don't do this, Abdul. Don't do this. But why, he said. You sent me a picture of my home. I said, Abdul, you're going to have to figure that one out for yourself. But don't do this, Abdul, because it's going to end badly for you. And for 18 months, we didn't have one